Okay, this week's course is Musket Ridge Golf Club in Myersville, Maryland. It's actually just maybe 10 minutes north of Frederick, just off Route 40. You could say it's about halfway to Hagerstown from Frederick, but it's not that far. One of the reasons why I played it yesterday afternoon is that it is outside of DC's humidity zone and hopefully a little bit cooler. So since that day was projected to be in the high 90s, so I decided I was going to go ahead and drive up and play the course in what would be relative comfort compared to playing in the DC area. There would certainly, Musket Ridge is a course which I've heard about, but it wasn't really on my radar, and I didn't know, for instance, that it was a slope 140 course until I checked out Golf Now to see if there were any hot deals for it. Certainly there were no hot deals, but certainly it is a slope 140 course from the black tees. The tees are totals for the course are 6,900 from the actually gray tees is the back tees, and 6,400 yards from the blue tees, and 5,884 from the whites. Now, the course is fairly vertical, but not overly so. It's not nearly as chaotic as Maryland National. It is nowhere near as tough, I would say, or vertical as Blue Ridge Shadows or Rock Harbor. It's probably not even as vertical as Whiskey Creek, but the course has this sneaky little devil running through it. It is undoubtedly a tough course, but it is very sneaky and very sly in the way that it's tough, and it can definitely mess with your head. There's no question. And especially since the day I played it, it was broiling hot. The course has a lot of bugs, a lot of gnats and flies and stuff like that, which you will have to adequately prepare for. Bugs love the heat, and they love, all this animal stuff that goes on in the farmlands. And certainly they love the wetlands and marshlands and stuff. Even though this is up in, quote unquote, up in the mountains, it's not that high up in the mountains. And there's still a fair amount of, like mountain valley streams and creeks and marshlands and stuff. And it absolutely had a major bug issue. But it wasn't that uncomfortably hot. It was just more like broiling because there wasn't really a cloud in the sky. And the sun was just full force. But I shot a 112, which was the highest score I have had in quite a while. But I wouldn't say that the course was really tough. I would say it just tends to collect strokes. It's one of those courses where there's certain factors about it you got to understand. It's more or less a woods course. There's some flatter open holes, and there's some holes that are fairly tight and narrow and stuff. It does have a good 30-degree slope, for instance, let's say from left to right or from right to left on a lot of the holes. Or if the fairway is more or less flat, one side will be steep slope uphill and the other side will be steep slope downhill. Certainly behind the greens, on a lot of the greens, there's a very steep drop off, no more than 10 feet past the greens on the back or on the sides and stuff. And it's amazing how that the course isn't absolutely dominated by the fact that it's, cut out of a mountain sort of side. It isn't that bad in terms of the peril that you will see on the course. However, there is enough peril that it is intimidating. It is one of those courses you do not want to be hitting long, well off to the sides. There is enough rough that it is somewhat of a challenge to chip onto the greens. There is enough waste where you can lose the ball in the waste, even though it's clearly been cut down in areas. The waste might be waist high in some places where there's long grass and stuff. They had cut a lot of that down. Yes, it's easy to lose your balls in that stuff, but you still have a lot of players who will go out there and dance around in that waste looking for their ball. I did indulge in it a couple times, and certainly in some circumstances, I'll explain later, I took like a short walk around, and if I found another ball or something and I wasn't sure it was mine, or if I found the ball, I would play it, but I'd take line 3 and play it from there. So on the opening holes, out of like the first 5 holes, I had to do this maybe 3 times. And I wasn't too worried about it because it was the first 3 or 4 holes, and I figured, it'd take me some time to warm up. And it's a fairly intimidating course. I mean, it's just one of those courses where you have a good number of concerns when you're playing. You're trying not to play the ball too aggressively. The greens are fast. The greens are in good condition. The greens were very, top, I would say upper 25 percentile in terms of speed. It's one of those things where you're a little bit, cautious around the greens and stuff. You could take strokes simply because you're being too cautious. Okay, leaving chips short, not getting on the green when you should, things like that from the rough, leaving putts short because you're a little too cautious, especially when you're tight and you're warming up and things like that. And there's a lot of people watching you and all this kind of stuff, and you're playing a strange course you never played before, so it's really kind of a challenge. I like to think the first time I play the course is probably going to be the worst score I would ever have in that course. And in this case, without a doubt, it was probably the worst score I would have. But I don't think in the long run, I would have shot a lot better on this course. And the reason is it just messes with your head. There's so many things going on. I didn't think the sand was that big of a deal, but I will mention on the side that some of the sand traps, especially on the front side, had all that, that white crystalline kind of sand, really nice white sand. But on the backside, they tended to be just, brown sand. I'm hitting out and there's this, like an asteroid-sized pebble, a rock in the sand. But in general, they were decent sand traps. Not really big, not, outrageously difficult, but just, a decent amount of sand. Nothing outrageous. The sand was really the least of the problems in the course. I would say the big problem with the course was just, in terms of difficulty, was the combination of factors. So many things coming together to affect your mind when you play. You knew you had to negotiate all this stuff that just added stress to your play. The fact that the greens were fast enough, the fact that they were often multi-tiered, there were the occasional elevated greens, but not so much. The fact that at least 2 of the greens are right next to the clubhouse, and, the tee boxes in some cases are right next to the clubhouse, and, playing from the back tees. There was just a lot of stuff. Also, because it's up in the mountains and because it's elevated, you see a lot more than you would if you were just in this canopy of trees and you're isolated on one fairway and no one could really see you or whatever. There's a lot of visual stuff going on, a lot of mental stuff going on in this course. And then you factor in the heat, you factor in the bugs, and it's just like, oh man, I have to admit, this is one of the more intellectually challenging courses for the fact that it wasn't that challenging of a course. There's just so much stuff going on. And yes, if you're at all timid on this course, you're going to eat strokes just because your shots are not getting where you want them to go, or they're not, they're coming in anywhere from 5 feet to 15 feet or 20 feet short of where you want them to go. And if you're too aggressive, also the course can simply bite you. It's a hard course to scramble on in the sense that you almost never can see where you're trying to hit if you're scrambling. If you're trying to chip back to the fairway, it's almost always a blind shot back to the fairway. If you're trying to hit to the green and you're not in the fairway and you can't see the green and it's a blind shot to the green, almost always you're going to lose your ball because you can't see where it's coming down. And even if it does come down in decent shape, it's not like you are going to necessarily see it hit and you're not sure where it is. So if it doesn't come down in decent shape, you have no idea where it is. Okay. You might have a line of where the ball went, but it's not like you're going to have the exact line, and you don't have the exact distance, and it's going to be in the weeds or in the woods somewhere along that line. Now, if you miss the line that you're trying to hit, or you overplay the shot, it's gone, and there's no chance you're going to find it. There's so much waste around the green, and so much tree foliage waste, whatever. There's no chance you're going to find it. I have to add, this was a big problem even with the tee shots, because if you didn't see the ball off the tee and you lost it in the sun or in the sky or whatever, and you didn't see it come down, you had no idea where it was. It was very difficult to find the ball if you didn't see it land, or if it wasn't in the fairway when you got there. So about the sixth hole, I was, starting to say, look, you don't want to be trying to hit shots into greens if you can't see the green on this course. But there are still the occasional holes and stuff. I mean, it's got enough bends and twists and verticality and stuff where a shot that you look at it and you might think it's a fairly easy shot and all you got to do is hit it out here in a fairway. And if it doesn't go exactly where you want it to go, I mean, more or less, where you're looking, it's going to go off on the right and in the woods or off on the left and in the woods. It is a tough course because your shots don't necessarily go as far as you think they're going to go. And if they don't go as far as you think they're going to go, there's a good chance you're going to lose it. And if you don't hit it straight or where you are aiming, there's also a good chance you're going to lose it. It's a very easy course to inadvertently lose balls. And even if you don't lose your ball, it's still an easy course to pick up extra strokes. And even if you see where it's going and you're right next to the green, there's still a good chance that you can still lose the ball if you overplay the green, because all it has to do is bounce once and bounce into the waist, and there's a 99% chance that you won't find it. Okay? So the course is not hard. It's just easy to overplay it, playing it like you would play your normal course. You have to respect this course. It's so easy to lose balls on it. You have to respect that. And on top of that, respecting it causes the player, it certainly caused me, to choke. And I will admit, to choke on a fair number of shots that ordinarily I just go in there and swing and blah, 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 not worry about it so much. You have to play loose enough to make your shots, but you can't play so aggressive that you play into trouble. And it's fairly easy to play into trouble on this course. That is why it's difficult. That is why it's a 140 course. It is not a 140 course because there is a lot of waste right next to the green, or there's it's so tight or so long, or the shots are so difficult. It's a 140 course because it is so dangerous to not take it carefully. But if you do take it carefully, it takes you out of your swing and out of your shot and out of your distance, and you just add on. It's like you add on a layer of strokes. Like, this becomes a 2-stroke swing versus a 1-stroke swing. This becomes a 3-stroke swing instead of a 2-stroke swing. Things like that. And that's why it's a high-scoring course. However, I will admit, despite all that bugs and the heat and, the bugs and the heat, basically, and the fact that I was dehydrated, there were times when, I'd lost a ball in just some ridiculous situation, just chipping out of a sand trap and sculling the ball just a little bit, and having it go 15 feet past the green and having it bounce on the cart path and go into the waist that was cut down between the hole, in between the green I was on and the tee box that was the next, or, on the other side of that hill. It's not even a big hill. It was like a 3-foot hill with just 2 or 3 inches of waste, and I still lost the ball. It was like a patch of 15 feet by 10-foot patch of this waste. Still lost the ball in that. I almost quit playing after that, but I didn't. I just sat down, got into some shade, had a couple of glasses of ice water. I had brought 3 or 4 cups of ice water with me on the course, and just took a break. Just took like a 5-minute break right there, and I played out the rest of the round. I'm thinking, probably half the problem is I'm just crazy playing in this heat. Most people, I knew this when I started. I knew it was hot. Most playing in this kind of heat is crazy, number one. But it wasn't that bad. I have to admit, I finished the round. I was hot. I was tired. I just needed to sit down. I needed to take a break. But I said, that was a lot of fun. And if I could go back out and play another 9 right now on this course, I would do it. I thoroughly enjoyed playing the course. It's not that long of a course. It's not that tight. It's a challenging course. But if you just go out and swing your club and play without being completely reckless, it is as decent a course as any other decent course. Nice greens. It's a fun course to play. I thoroughly enjoyed the round. And it's a good environment to play golf. I mean, the bad things that I would say were minimal. There's a hum, like a modest, constant hum of truck noise and traffic noise coming off of Route 70, which you can hear, probably 2 miles away from the course. You can't see any of the traffic, but you can certainly hear it. It's not like Maryland National where it's just this oppressive thunder, or a Rocky Gap where it's a loud, thunderous roar of truck noise. Not like that at all. It's not as bad as Richlands, which is right down Route 40, where Route 40 passes right by the course, and you can hear all this truck noise and traffic noise. Very minimal noise, not a whisper, but still something of a hum you can hear. And it's a nice views, you get farmland, rolling hills, stuff like that. Nothing really great, but nice enough and interesting. It's quiet, it's laid back. It's not quite in the middle of nowhere, but it's not in the middle of some neighborhood either. It's a nice place to play golf, and it's a nice, challenging course. It's really hard to say that this course has problems. It's that good. Not quite the best course or the best view that I've ever seen, but really good. And it's a hard course to find fault with. Anyone that compares it to Bulle Rock is crazy. It's a completely different course than Bulle Rock. The layout is vastly different. The fairway widths are incredibly different. There's almost no slope, relatively speaking, on Bulle Rock compared to this course. Bulle Rock is about as easy a duffer's course as you could get compared to this course. They're totally different courses. And I got on the course right after they had a tournament that day. So it was 2:30. I got on for $60 on their site. No hot deals, no nothing. I pretty much had the course to myself after the tournament was over. There were like 3 or 4 other players out there. I had a whale of a time playing that course. Came in to what is a modest but decent clubhouse. They have a nice bar there. Have a small but adequate locker room. Took a shower, changed, drove off, and I really regretted when I left. I regretted the fact that I had to leave and couldn't play it again right then. It was a real letdown to leave that course because it was such a challenge to play it mentally. And golf is golf, and golf can be a stupid game in a larger world where we have all these issues and stuff. But I will tell you, it's rounds like this round that make golf what it is in terms of just a thorough enjoyment of an athletic outing out in nature, a challenge to the person, a challenge to their physical and mental abilities, and it was the embodiment of what golf is. Everything about golf that I liked, I found in this course. Okay? Without having to pound the ball 5,000, yards every time I hit a drive. And I can only say I had no problem with the length, even there's a 600-yard par 5 and some other, but most of the holes in this course are not that long. The par 5s are 520 on the front and 567 on the front, and on the back they're 543 and 505. These are not long holes, not at all. Even the longest one, I had no problem getting on the green in 3. It was not a long course at all. Even from the back tees, easily played. There's a good chance that, you should just park your driver on the first hole, hit it literally right next to the red stake next to the pond. It's not a course where you need to have long shots, and really, you want long shots. You want control. You want to be, putting your distance in there. Shots not too long and not too short. It's a good course, a good challenging course to play golf on in a decent environment, certainly a decent clubhouse, certainly a decent views, all these things. I could give this course an A-. Certainly, it's maybe not quite an A, but definitely it's somewhere between a B plus and an A minus. It certainly was a very nice outing and not too expensive. That's Musket Ridge Golf Club in Myersville, Maryland, just north of Route 70, just outside of Frederick. Very nice course, very nice round.